But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why, 35 years ago, fly the Atlantic? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other thing. Not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win. We choose to go to the moon.
Hello, welcome to the fourth episode of the World Blockchain Roundtable. Hosts for today, Greg from Rivet, Jeff from Divi, Jeremy from Library, Sean, a creator and entrepreneur, Dave from Den.social, and Ross from Global Crypto Culture, expected to join any moment. He had some trouble. I'm Joe, architect founder of Dragonchain. Quick update on last week's episode, lot distribution, that based on total views of the episode, rounded down 3,000 lot. And hey, thanks, Sam. And each host from last week will receive 500 lot. Each topic contributor from last week will receive 166 lot. With the layer ownership tokens come perpetual passive income, free edits, and future governance votes inside this community layer on what we do with the show and everything else. So let's go straight to the topics. Is that good? So first up, refresh. Yes, refresh. And then first topic or comment is Jegs. Talk about your experiences with blockchain legislation. Who wants to hit that first? This is a good one.
It is a good one.
Well, that actually might be a good segue for me to talk a little bit about El Salvador and what's going on there, because I know everybody wants to know about that topic.
Yeah. I mean, I can talk about some things that were pre, any of the current troubles. I know that way back in the day would have been probably around 2012, 2013, 14, somewhere around there. You could look it up because it was right after Schumer and Manchin, senators, both on the banking committee, came out with some statement that they wanted to ban Bitcoin. Bitcoin's evil and all the bad things about it, right? And even at the time, I was not a maximalist. It didn't exist at the time, but either way, I met a guy on Reddit. Don't tell anyone. That was a former lobbyist and wanted to set up his own shop, and so he was bringing in small companies to kind of, get his chops up and figure out, I guess, his network. But we joined in and got to go and talk to. We got to talk to at least Manchin's staff, and then a whole bunch of other congressmen and senators, and it was mostly about don't kill this. I mean, this is like early internet. You're talking about trillions of dollars of opportunity. You're talking about business. This isn't what those whoever is lobbying you, the banks, is telling you. It's very powerful, very valuable technology, and to some extent, we were, I would say, a little bit successful because they tended to, and I don't want to say that we had any effect on what they were paid to say in the real world, but that I know at least their people were more cognizant that there was a different side to this, that they would ask us stuff. Sometimes they would ask us after they'd already signed something or voted on something, but still they would come to us, which was good. So there were some good things there, but we've done that occasionally with in the more recent time with the SEC going on and all of the other regulatory things that we've talked to local congressmen. And I will tell you, no matter who it is, they don't care necessarily about the technology. They kind of care about opening markets, but they don't quite usually get that. It is when you tell them that hundreds of thousands of jobs are at stake in the U.S., so many in your district, and trillions of dollars likely of money flowing through the U.S. Whether you consider it from a tax angle or a jobs angle, it doesn't matter. It's good. And they start scribbling as soon as you say that. They're kind of, they're very passive. They're, eyes glossing over like you're telling them something they'll never, need to use in the real world.
Right.
And then you bring up jobs, and everybody in the room is all of a sudden very, very attentive. So
right.
That's my experience.
Yeah, do you want to go, Jeff?
Well, I was just going to say, that there are, I think the politicians are very focused on sort of short-term voter perception too. So right now, most people, when you talk about crypto, that don't know about it, all they know about is mainstream media FUD. So I think talking to politicians and the laws they pass, you have to really help them frame things in a way that's positive, so they don't look like they're talking about sort of a forbidden subject that they don't really want to touch, because it creates a FUD vector for the opposition, wherever they're running against. Saying, oh, this guy's pro Bitcoin, that means he's pro child pornography, he's pro money laundering, and he's pro, everything else bad that they associated with Bitcoin. But I was going to mention my take on Bitcoin legislation and crypto legislation. I've been focused on mass adoption and nothing else basically for 4 years, and so I kind of see mass adoption and legislation happening in different ways around the world. For example, in Africa, a lot of countries are basically making it illegal, like Nigeria, and yet it's happening anyway because the people really need it. And that's really interesting, because people are just ignoring the government and saying, hey, we want this stuff. We don't trust you. We don't trust our banks. We don't trust our currency. So we're just going to do Bitcoin anyway. In Central America, on the other hand, like in El Salvador, they're doing the opposite. El Salvador wants to become the Singapore of the West. And so they're trying to create the world's most crypto-friendly and tech-friendly economy by passing and changing all their laws to attract investments, so people can open up companies in 24 hours and they have access to everything they need to rapidly grow a tech company. Now, in the United States, we have a big mess, and the politicians don't know what to do with it. They're not really passing any clear laws. So I think mass adoption there is going to happen in a different way. My personal theory is that mass adoption is going to happen first among junior high, high school, and college age kids, especially kids that can empower themselves with money that their parents don't understand. For me, that's the biggest mass adoption vector that's about to happen. And so I actually resigned as CEO of Divi Labs recently. I'm still chairman of the board, but I'm in the process of building 8 different use cases that are targeting young people as a way of creating something for them to do with that money. But I think it's going to happen anyway, just because kids want to empower themselves with money. And if you give them a way to do it, they will.
Yep. Oh, absolutely.
When the legislation, the infrastructure bill first came out, I made the point that this is a big deal. And all of my colleagues said, nah, man, it's nothing. And I know, no, this is going to be a big thing. And if you just type in crypto news, everything is about the battle in the government. So people are waking up. And the thing, like Jeff said, there's a large amount of constituents that are educated enough to not allow the FUD anymore. Because that was probably the plan. Oh, you're pro Bitcoin. You're pro all these terrible things. But the battle is so big, and it was this huge line in the sand that was drawn for this little thing to try to sneak in there. They think we could just sneak up behind Bitcoin and dagger in the back, roll a 20, we're done. But in reality, it's this giant battle with a dragon that they have created that it's going to consume them. I don't know if y'all have seen the speech by Ted Cruz. I put it in the chat. It's amazing. I mean, everything that we talk about, he gets. It's like the U.S. is going to export trillions of dollars in jobs, in business, in tax revenue, just like you said, overseas to other countries that get it. This is like a huge technology, a huge revolution when it comes to money, but also, the tech behind it is, it's all laid out in this little speech that he gave in Congress. So I think people are getting it. Like when they had the pipeline hijack, and the FBI or whoever, they came out and said, "Oh, we seized, all that money back in Bitcoin. We seized it. We have it back." And everyone said, "No, that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works."
Well,
And I'm like, "You can't do that." And they said, "Well, we don't want to talk about how we got it. It's very technical. You wouldn't understand." And then like a few days later, like, "Okay, well, we got the guy's private keys. He like had it written on a piece of paper or something, But they had to admit that because enough people knew
right.
that's not how it works.
Right.
You can't do that.
Either they broke the laws of physics somehow with some advanced quantum computer they haven't released yet,
Yeah.
or they just had a backdoor. Oh wait, it was the backdoor.
But I think that this legislation is it's very important, and Jeff knows this. Both Jeff.
Yeah, it's interesting what you say about Ted Cruz, and there's a danger zone there in that if it becomes like liberals against because he's for, then that's very bad for crypto. What crypto needs is for AOC, who's also pro crypto, to do like a joint announcement with him, because then you get all the passionate people on both sides. You've got the banks funding the center, which has no passion, and then you have the two sort of other sides of the spectrum for something. You're going to have everybody vocal for crypto.
I think the weirder issue is politics isn't as normal as it used to be, or as easy to predict as it used to be. It's not as polar as it used to be. So
if Cruz and AOC came out and did something together, I would literally cry.
Yeah, that won't happen. I would be willing to bet that if you asked AOC today, she'd probably rather go against crypto than be with.
Right.
Yeah,
I know, and
which is sad. Which is really sad.
That's the bad part. Yeah.
Well, that's why, in my opinion, if you take a normal person, at least a citizen in the U.S. who pays taxes, and give them that fundamental, you could frame this as whether, depending on the person, anti-American. If somebody's against this, then they want that money to go overseas. Why would why would a representative of citizens in the U.S. want that money to go overseas?
Probably lots of reasons, right? Like they may think that this is a threat to U.S. Hegemony. They may think that this is a real national security threat, like that kooky guy from Southern California with the, I'm too turtly for the Turtle Club look going on. Like what's his name? The ultimate original crypto hater in Congress,
Mitch McConnell.
Oh.
No,
he's from the porn district.
You're talking about
porn district.
Talking about Brad Sherman, the guy
Sherman,
Brad Sherman, the guy that gets like 80% of his campaign money from banks, Swiss banks and Chinese banks.
Well, I did an article on him. That guy gets tons of money from the credit card processing companies. Yeah. One of them busted for illegal gambling, and then he gives this big speech about how Bitcoin can be used for illegal purposes. Like, what the hell?
Oh, he only cares. He only cares that the weapon of finance is in the hands of the national security state he supports. It's totally transparent to whatever his constituencies are. Obviously, he's got some people paying him, right? But the really interesting thing to me is more in the sort of phase we're at right now. Like I feel like we've got a whole bunch of people feeling that elephant, and they've got their hands on the trunk, and some people have their hands on the tail, and they're going, "It's a hose." No, it's a whip. And in reality, it's this whole thing. Like we've got this tip of the iceberg of this technology that's going to be foundationally shifting the way that we do internet.
That reason, like you can make it appeal to either extreme side of the aisle too. I mean, you go to like a Bernie supporter, and it's like, man, F the banks. It's all about crypto. You go to your typical right winger, and it's all about liberty. Right. There's great arguments on every level. That's why passing legislation, in theory, the only thing that will hold us up is these elderly, tech illiterate idiots that we have up there who literally they have something against Bitcoin because it's tech they don't understand. So they just hate it because that's another thing that they don't know how to use. It's so confusing,
Or like Joe said, it's that hatred for the other side that could hold it up.
or they get its very real universal power to disintermediate power centers.
The bills that have been proposed, they
knows?
have been introduced by one Republican and one Democrat. Have you noticed, like, every major crypto bill so far has been introduced from stage one? They made sure it was a Republican and Democrat presenting it, which is awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
And Ross, I think you're right to an extent, but like the demographics are weird because like it isn't just old people that have never used the internet. My dad has never used the internet, and he starting to get it. He's starting to see the price of it go up. But also you've got confusion among constituents. There's occasionally politicians that do try to listen to their constituents, but then you've got I listen to NPR when I'm driving, and you've got I listened to probably a half an hour on talking to protesters in front of a power plant who were saying that, Bitcoiners are destroying the earth in the name of fake money. And they were, young people, and they were, wildly against it. And they have information from somewhere, just like, a lot of people get on boomers for just reading whatever on the internet and believing it and not understanding it. But it's all over the place.
One of those years, the people protesting in front of the Consensus Convention, that something about them, there was something where they were paid. I mean, and that was very small back then, and it's being used now. But I mean, I think none of that really matters. I think that what is really at play here, which is to me the most interesting thing, is that the strings behind all of these supposed reasons. Oh, they're old, so they don't understand, or they aren't listening to their constituents. The reason you have a few of them listening to the constituents is because they're independent. They don't tend to get elected because they don't tend to get funded. Right. And the ones that do get in are because it resonates, or it's a very independent district or something. But so the kabuki theater is what this is all really about, because all of those things you were talking about were, either the banks paying because they're worried about the financial side, or VCs paying because they're worried about the funding side. We haven't gotten to the point where because the fundamental shift, like what Greg talks about, isn't just the internet. It is, the first time that nation states would have to recognize a technology as a fundamental part of how they do their jobs is going to be an interesting thing.
Stuff you couldn't disintermediate before, we can't imagine. It's like when we all said the internet was TV only better.
They've never had to give that up. And so you can think of it as nation states. Oh, each nation state might be different. Some of them might take it well, some of them might not.
Maybe that's like,
like
you said, that politics is not the way it used to. It seems to have been turned up. Literally, it's almost been theatrical, but literally now it's just like
some of it, in my opinion, has to be that
I watch this.
A technology that is going to disrupt not an industry, but the puppet masters, right? Whatever's running the powers that be are affected by this.
There's an interesting theory about all this, where the idea is that rather than engaging directly with politicians, let the people that own the politicians run this for us. And the idea behind that is making Bitcoin and blockchain useful for business. If big business, if you can explain to them that they no longer have to run their blockchain teams, run back-end teams, because that's done for free for them by the internet. They only have to build front-end stuff on massively scalable blockchains. Then they will go to the Congress and get the laws we want passed. The other crucial element to that is making sure that they can do anonymous smart contracts. They don't want customers knowing what they're doing. They don't want their competitors to know who they're selling to, how much they're charging, or any of that. And so for that reason, that there's a few like sort of layer 1 and blockchains and layer 2 solutions that are offering privacy smart contracts that I think will be phenomenally important and one of the major growth sectors in crypto over the next few years. So if we can just work to empower that sector, then I think big business, who really runs the country, will take
on
care
that
of
note.
this.
Something really big happened like a week and a half ago or something, and the article's up on globalcryptopress.com, where the American Bankers Association literally put out in their quarterly bulletin that banks that have not partnered with any crypto firms should, because those that did are seeing huge benefits. Like the official organization of bankers are saying, find a partner in crypto.
There's kind of a risk here, though. Like like, okay, so let's say all of the lobbyists get behind all of the people with all of the capital right now that are going to be pushing this, right? What happens to the use cases that would have emerged if SEC and the CFTC didn't get first crack at defining what each of these things is? Like, we have to really be careful that the way that this gets regulated isn't to say, first we're going to check to see if it's a security, and then we're going to check to see if it's a piece of art that a kid can do, or like different things that you can use blockchains for that have nothing to do with finance other than that they interconnect with it really easily. I think those use cases are at risk, especially some of the more innovative ones we can't see yet.
I will say that is, I mean, Jeff made my perfect statement for our whole positioning. The whole reason the Dragonchain exists.
Yeah, I was hoping you would address that.
Try to get it so that a business can plug in their, typically boring use case, the thing that nobody's going to put out there as some sexy thing to sell, but they need it done, and they need it done in a way that they can't do it today.
And it's very valuable,
right?
Very valuable.
And that's what we're trying to figure out.
It's just very, very expensive for a bank to have their own blockchain team. You have a whole bunch of people, working out of their basement that are really highly paid, and you have no idea what they're doing. And that's a really bad thing. If you can show them that there's an actual blockchain that can take care of that for them and give them their needs, and they don't have to do any of that. But and by the way, they can get rid of all their actuaries and people because it's immutable.
Amazing.
They can,
right. and they can provide better,
can reduce costs massively. And if they don't reduce their costs massively, their competitor will.
Right.
And the
one stop compliance certification for everybody, because it's all
and
the
fact
system.
That you can actually do all of these great things for your business and yet align better with the customer. You can give the customer better privacy. You can give them better transparency. You can give them things that they don't even consider today as a value because it's never existed in that world. And yet the issue has been when we've been talking utility, and we have a number, just on the call today, group projects that are interested in the utility of blockchain. We keep getting hammered down by people. It's all about number go up. It's all about speculation, and it's all about finance. So it's either about borrowing, or we're going to redefine how finance works and everything else. It's really hard to get through that noise if you want to solve an issue like this, because that is all that anybody making these decisions is going to see. That's all they see. That's all they think this is.
Well, it's so prevalent out there, just in the minds of everyone. But the other point that Jeff made is that and you said transparency. It's just showing people how the puppet masters have been doing things so unfairly, and people don't like that, especially Americans. When they can see something is unfair, that's when they get pissed off and do something about it. That's why civil rights wasn't a huge deal until it wasn't as huge of a deal until people saw it on TV, and until people could see images and pictures like, oh my God, this isn't just a rumor. This is actually happening. We got to fix this. And
I mean that is assuming that it even gets covered in the news, because if you got a government controlled news that we do right now that is absolute partisan, refusing to cover XYZ subjects, because the powers that be that we are actually working against in many ways and fashions are interested in trying to suppress it.
But like
then you're going to have a hard
blockchain and what has come about, which people didn't know, I didn't even know, until years ago, the unfair treatment of just different business sectors by those payment processors. Oh, you're an adult site. Oh, you're an adult type business. Well, that's going to be 30% processing fee. Everyone else is 3%. Oh, you're in marijuana, in a legal marijuana state. Well, you can't put your money in the bank, and we're going to charge you, a bunch more money for anything. So people didn't know that. They thought, oh, it's weed's legalized in this state, so everything's fine there. They didn't know that. And when that comes to light, like it has, they're like, that's not fair. This is a mom and pop hippies, that just wanted to open a dispensary, and it's a legal, a legal store, and they have to hire, they don't believe in guns. They don't believe whatever their beliefs are. They have to go against that just to have security, because they have tons and tons of money they have to keep on site. It's But people understand that now. They can
Right.
see that, and things are moving in a direction to fix it.
Well,
I talked to a cannabis shop once about, why are you guys not accepting some form of crypto, at least as an alternative? And they had told me that it's because, well, the owners didn't want to. They didn't believe in it. It wouldn't be worth anything the next day. All that stuff. And I told them you can make it cash out immediately if that's the issue. But they in the end they're making money off their ATM, right? So
Right.
they have the ATM in house, and so
well, and they like beware the danger of minor annoyances, right? Like it's probably more to do with the fact that they don't want to learn a new app than anything else.
yeah.
It really did make the best.
Who's really
world use case,
probably?
though.
Whoop, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the marijuana thing really did seem like the first big real world use case for crypto, and I'm just surprised like no coin became of all dispensaries, they all agreed on some kind of coin. It would make so much sense.
Yeah.
'Cause, they are coming in with armed guards every night to take out that cash.
Yeah.
That's expensive, not just a pain in the ass.
Maybe people were really worried about double whammying it against maybe we're already in marijuana. Now, if we get into alternative
I've
finance,
asked my dispensary the same question, and what they told me was
double
that
the risk, double the fun.
They had bigger things to worry about at the moment. Like right now, they were just worried about being able to operate with cash, like without being arrested.
Right.
Yeah.
Almost like they rose to prominence.
The thing was just like, okay, we'll get to it, but right now we got this step to cover.
And with the nature of how they are treating crypto with so much ambiguity on how it's going to be taxed, how it's going to be just treated in the financials in general. If you're in weed, if you're in any kind of drug dispensary at all, and you're in anything that is considered the gray zone of what is appropriate in society, you're going in for, like you said, like I don't remember who it was, but someone said it was basically double whammy of you're going to get fucked on one side and you're going to get fucked on another at the same time.
Yeah, I think part of the problem is that a lot of the weed growers were illegal weed growers before they were legal, and everybody knows that. One of my crypto lawyers told me he had a client that had $100 million in cash in his basement, and he now does legal growing, but he can't get anybody to take his cash anywhere.
Yeah.
And yet he has to pay 2 armed guards with guns to guard this all the time because there's a few people that know about it, but he can't use it. He can't spend it. What would be really great is if they passed a law in California that just gave some sort of moratorium that said, hey, take all your drug money, your marijuana money, tell us what you did and pay 20% tax. They probably raise billions of dollars if they could just allow people a vector to do that.
Or he could be the biggest local cryptos, free from, watchful eyes on ramp and off ramp that there is, right? Like he could actually just go on local cryptos and be like, hey, stop by, get some cash, I'll buy your crypto. Like that's totally an option. But who's probably really lucky? Well, yeah, I'm not advising it. I'm saying hypothetically, somebody who is already comfortable with holding cash gotten illegally can probably stand to dispose of the evidence in an illegal way and be okay with the moral trade-off, right? But who's really lucky to have crypto right now if they got it? People in Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I did a story on that. They have, and that's what actually the story was about. How the Taliban is going to most likely start utilizing crypto to run the country because they have no central bank. The central bank pulled out. They actually have, I think it was over 500 million, but the assets have been frozen. When it comes to the news in the United States, the international community, there's a lot of talk about working with them or bowing down to them, but behind the scenes, man, they're cutting off everything that they can cut off to them. So that is a good point.
That's going to be weird when you see people speculating on banny bucks on exchanges. That's going to be really morally weird.
It is, yeah. I mean, especially when you think about
that was colored coins back in the day, right? That was what that was supposed to do. They were going to mark dirty money on Bitcoin particularly, and
colored coins, right?
Yeah. So that.
Yeah,
in theory, Afghanistan could do something similar to the petrodollar, but it'd be lithium. I mean, they have one of the biggest lithium veins running through that country, and that is getting higher in value every day.
China allows them to do that,
or just opium.
Actually, somebody in Puerto
Rico is done. I don't know.
Somebody in Puerto Rico just a few days ago was telling me a story about how he was at a market in Afghanistan in the middle of nowhere and people were accepting Bitcoin there. and he paid for something. He bought like a souvenir or something in Bitcoin, and then a whole bunch of other, like the guy had been offering Bitcoin at this little stall in the middle of nowhere, and everybody thought it was like a joke. And he walked up with his phone and he offered to pay in Bitcoin, and like he was then mobbed by people, other vendors that wanted him to buy stuff with Bitcoin. And this is like in 2000, I think he said 2014. I mean, it was a long time ago, right?
Wow.
So that's what I was talking about with Nigeria. And what's interesting with governments is that Bitcoin and crypto is finding a way. It doesn't matter what the governments are doing. It doesn't matter what laws they're passing. There's always a vector for crypto to be useful. It's like water. It just flows around all obstacles. And in some places that's happening faster than others, but it's happening in different ways. So if you're somebody like me who's just watching this and reading everything you can about it all the time, it's so fascinating to see. And it's one of the most interesting stories, I think, about this decentralized idea about decentralized power that is so interesting. That's of course not being really well covered in the media or really by influencers or anybody.
Yeah, I totally agree. You're dead on.
If one of those countries actually adopted crypto and used it for real, that's what I'm interested in. No one's done that yet. And it's not an easy thing, but
that's why it's what's happening in El Salvador.
Yeah,
that's what's happening in El Salvador is so important. And I'd love to be able to kind of explain what's happening there, because I talk to crypto guys all the time that are sort of not happy about what's going on in El Salvador until I kind of explain to them what's happening, and then they understand. So if you want, I can kind of explain it.
Sure. Yeah.
So basically, so 70% of the country in Afghanistan has no bank account, right? But 90% of the country has a cell phone. So the government has recognized that Bitcoin could be the first digital money that the majority of the country ever has. But they also don't want to lose their standing as the most popular government in the world. The president has a 92% approval rating, and this is not just by his polls. This is international professional polling companies. They control both houses of Congress, and he's the most, they have a mandate from the government. And so he said that Bitcoin is cool. We need to do Bitcoin. And so he has a legion of fans there that even before the government has launched their project with what they call the Chivo wallet, people are setting up Bitcoin in bars and restaurants all over just because he said so, because they think it's cool and they're learning about it on their own. Now, on the other hand, the opposition, who's desperate to get back in power, and we're talking about two sides, the left, sort of a left and the right, that have made that basically over the last 30 years ran this country into the ground and made it the worst, the murder capital of the world, where it was literally run by drug gangs. And these gangs are the worst, the most sadistic in the world. And these people ran the country until this president was elected 2 years ago. And among other things, he's reduced crime by 2/3 in the country, bringing it down to levels that are within the rest of Central America. And so he's extremely popular. So basically what they realize is that if they just give
Bitcoin,
he's
a smart guy.
Yeah, he's very smart
guy.
They're calling
and an honest guy.
He's a millennial. He's in his 40s, and he understands technology. And so what they've realized, they have a whole Bitcoin task force, and they've hired people from all over the Latin American world. Like the guy leading the Chivo wallet project is from Venezuela. They're just hiring the best of the best people that they can find, and people that are from outside the system, because that's where they got their powers, by harnessing people power that voted them into power and doing things that they know the people want to see. So what they've done is they've realized that these people have never used any type of banking before, and they're going to be a massive attack vector for phishers, scammers, and everything like this. So they realize that giving people control of their own private keys is a really bad idea. It'll create a massive, there's many attack vectors that we all know of. There's the wrench attack, and then there's just phishing, and there's people losing their private keys, bad passwords, all this stuff. They want to introduce Bitcoin carefully and slowly so that they succeed, and they don't give their political opposition a hammer to hammer them with, because the hammer the opposition controls a lot of the media, because they ran the country and owned all the businesses within it, a lot of the big businesses. So they don't want to give the opposition this vector to show over and over and over on the media all the people that lost their private keys, all the people that got phished, and basically convince people that the president was an idiot, that he introduced this Bitcoin thing, into this country, and it became a massive failure because everybody's losing all their money. So what they're doing is they created the Chivo wallet, which is a completely centralized thing that's connected directly with the central banks of El Salvador. And so people that are dealing in Bitcoin through the Chivo wallet system are just moving database points around like they would in a bank. They've made it so it's 0 fees, so you can easily switch between dollars and Bitcoin, and they're allowing people to do that automatically. So if somebody doesn't like Bitcoin but they want to accept it, then they can accept Bitcoin, and then it automatically gets put into dollars. So there's no volatility risk, which is one of the things they're being hammered about right now by the opposition, that Bitcoin too volatile. This is a really bad idea. I mean, those of us in the know about Bitcoin know that it's the opposite of volatile long term. It's the best investment anybody has ever made over the last 11 years, like 200% average per year for 11 years on average, right? So basically they're basically removing all the risk. What they're doing is with Chivo Wallet, they're only doing Bitcoin. They're not going to go and start doing Ethereum. They don't want to do this. They don't want the government running this stuff. These guys are technocrats, right? They want private investment to come in, and so they're going to greenlight other wallets that are non-custodial and allow people. They believe that people will get interested in this because they believe that long-term crypto is going to go up in value, and it's a way of enriching the country. They want everybody to have a little bit of Bitcoin. That's why they're giving everybody in the country $30 worth, hoping that they'll hold on to it, or at least some of them will. And those that do, as Bitcoin goes up in the next few years, it'll create massive FOMO. So they see it as a wealth vector, just in general, by getting crypto into the system. They're also, the other wealth vector is by attracting businesses from around the world. So they're in the middle of creating the world's most crypto-friendly set of laws and banking laws for the whole country, so that they can attract people to set up all their headquarters and employ their people. And they want to bring back the hundreds of thousands of El Salvadorans that have left the country mainly for the United States because of the crime. They want to bring them back. These people all have money now, and they have job skills and all this. They want to bring them back and bring their money and their skills and their energy and their sort of American work ethic with them. El Salvadorans in general are very, very hard workers. And they're very creative people, really, really sweet, nice people. So I think that I personally believe that this is going to work. The problem is that El Salvador in some ways is the worst place in the world to do this, because they don't have a national currency that's a shitty currency that Bitcoin is going to get to compete against, like in Nigeria. Bitcoin is competing directly against the dollar. So it's very interesting, right? This is such an opportunity for us, and this is why Brock Pierce, who's one of the top visionaries in the space, knew that it was so important. And when the government asked him to do something, he called everybody he knew and got like 40 of us to fly down there within 2 days. And it was pretty impressive, actually, what happened and the level of people that flew down there, because it's extremely important. If this fails, it's going to create a horrible flood vector against crypto for the next. That could bring on a crypto winter that lasts for the next two years.
So if that's what they're going to do with Bitcoin, then that's my issue. Is it doesn't seem like they're doing much. It is in my opinion the equivalent to we're a state. This happens a lot in a lot of states. Instead of focusing on entrepreneurs and getting new businesses and the tax side of things, they're focused on let's get people jobs. And when it's let's get people jobs, it's okay. It's wage slave, right? We want a bunch of wage slaves because they pay taxes. The ones that go after entrepreneurship and the ones that really open stuff up in that way tend to excel, right? That's, I think, the difference here, because this is literally adopting an already, this isn't, Bitcoin in 2012. This is Bitcoin in 2021. So $30 of Bitcoin is not going to have as much upside, even as $30 of Ethereum, if you ask me. So that's my thing. Why do they not focus on the actual inside of government defining? Let's create a sound currency.
That's exactly what they're doing. Bitcoin
that's
is
what it sounds like to me.
A segue for it. And so they're inviting all the leaders in the crypto space. They're inviting all you guys to come down to start their companies, put your headquarters there.
Well,
they've
okay, that's great. You answered the question if it was like a state in the U.S. But if it's a nation state, if it's a state that has their own currency, right? What I was talking about jobs versus entrepreneurship in Texas or in California, right? What I'm talking about in this case is this is a nation that should actually have its own currency. The fact that they don't would be an interesting hedge. Let's take whatever they're holding in dollars, map it to our own currency, and create a sound new currency that would be, they could make it that's the thing that they should be doing.
Maybe they got really creative. I don't know. I think maybe they got it right. I think they got it right because, like, think about it like this. Think about it like this. If you're really wanting to implement a fair currency, then the thing that you probably want to do is not muck with it too much. Build some guardrails to prevent public relation disasters.
I'm with you on backing it with Bitcoin,
but then leave the rest of the market open and just let the entrepreneurs go crazy.
And for me, the key thing that they're doing, and for me, the key thing they're doing here is that they're trying to. Sounds like to me they're trying to adjust the chicken and egg issue whenever it comes to cryptocurrency and cryptocurrency uses and cryptocurrency adoption. Is that in order to have people that are going to be paying in crypto, they have to have crypto, they have to have the wallet, they have to have the apps. In order for people to have a reason to use them, you have to have businesses accepting it, but businesses will not accept it typically whenever there's no drive and there's no market people, that there's no customer base there that will actually use it. And they are backed by they are using the dollar as their currency in the country. They have to have something that is sound enough to be reasonable to compete against that US dollar. And they also have issues with the world banking systems, where it is that if they go something too extreme, they will get repercussions against their country from the World Bank, more so than they've already gotten for their moves into using any kind of adoption of Bitcoin for their country.
Yeah, this is a government that really believes.
Made the point about the entrepreneurship, but no one's really hitting on this geopolitical craziness that he said.
Right.
I don't know of a time in history of the United States, of the gem that everybody wants to come to, that is, where everyone wants to go to for opportunity, of people saying, oh, let's go back to our country. They fix things. Things are more attractive there. I mean, in Europe, a lot of people are sending their kids back to the countries they came from for safety issues. That is mind-boggling to me. That's not the United States. But if that happens, that's something that's never happened before. And Trump said this. Americans don't really want to flee, want to fix our country. For people to leave here, that have immigrated here, to go back for more opportunity, that's unbelievable.
Yeah. And by the way, I'm just saying that if you flip it, Bitcoin is a more solid store of value than dollar. I think everybody on screen today would admit and would say this, right? Would argue that.
In terms, certainly.
Right. Well, yes, and because on anything, it's just
eventually the oil runs out, and so do the bullets.
But and that's my point, that to leverage that, it seems to me they're doing the opposite. They're saying we want people to use Bitcoin, but we're backing everything by the dollar. So, and I understand psychologically that I get, and I get the marketing that they've done is brilliant. I'm saying I think they've not tapped.
But what about
the real value? They're very smart,
Right.
right? They know that the U.S. government is not going to like this. They don't want anything competing with the dollar, and they know that other governments that have tried to compete against the dollar have bombs dropped on the presidential palace, right? So this is, they have a government, I think, right now in the U.S., and I think that is unlikely to drop bombs on. So it's a unique opportunity for them to sort of subtly start competing against the dollar.
Right.
And they keep saying, don't worry, we're not competing against the dollar. You can still accept dollars. We're going to price everything in dollars. But long term, we know what they're thinking. These guys are technocrats, and what they want to do is attract talent and get job training. They want El Salvador to be the country exporting crypto, blockchain, and technology jobs.
And they're also testing Friedrich Hayek, man. They're testing Friedrich Hayek. You gotta give a shout out to the fact that they're setting up competing currencies that are on relatively equal footing.
I'm pretty sure that they considered that. They were calling it the Chivo dollar for a while, but they realized that there was benefits to just letting the free market decide how they're going to store their money in El Salvador.
Literally the competing aspect of it is what makes
it free. The central side? Because that was the very first thing that I saw come up. Well, what is the government going to charge for that conversion? And or nothing. Since it's centralized, okay. Yeah. Well, but when the other side comes to power, or if somebody gets greedy in government, I mean, what about that then? Because that's going to end up being the most likely thing to cause a black mark on the crypto world is if, and you imagine this, if a central government would decide to muck with the central part of what they're doing, right. Which is going to happen.
To some extent, it's a. Although they're democratically elected, they have sort of the characteristics.
We are here too.
Of a sort of a, what is it called when you have a sort of a friendly dictatorship? Where they can get benevolent all the laws passed. Yeah, benevolent dictatorship. I mean, it isn't that, but it has some of those characteristics in a way because they have such a strong mandate.
Which is the biggest danger. And I think the most obvious danger to this industry that being, we have a benevolent dictator. Great. What about tomorrow? What the hell happens tomorrow? Or when he wakes up with a headache and he's really had a stroke and something else happens that we don't expect.
So I got a question for you, Joe. In your ideal world, what would it look like for a government that is currently existing today to do anything to try and promote the adoption of cryptocurrency in their countries? Because it sounds like to me you're saying that governments, as they stand today, should not even touch crypto.
Nope.
Not
at all. See, and that's the whole point. When they touch it, they should at least get all the picture and not just the bankers and the finance guys. That's what Brock Pierce is. We've had him on the show. I have friends of his. I don't know him that well, right? But that's what those interests are. No, so to answer that question, to use it in a utilitarian fashion inside, open up transparency, make it so that you can tell who's funding the politicians, make it so you can we've talked about this in the past, like the ways you could actually use it. But that's kind of boring, and that's not the first thing you could do. I'm talking about a small country in Asia, that could create wealth from zero. They don't have to have the gold reserves to buy or the dollar reserves to buy Bitcoin to start. Now, maybe El Salvador has that, and that's a good thing. I'm talking about the ones that could start from zero. When whatever does convert, they could back it with a basket: Bitcoin, Ethereum, gold, silver. But that's what I'm talking about.
What's happened is that El Salvador basically did this, of course, and basically after this happened, Brock Pierce got calls from the president of every country in Latin America, and I'm exaggerating, but he's in Panama right now, where he's meeting with the government there. And they did this with Honduras over the last 2 days. They've been to Mexico. So we have chat groups up right now. All the people that are involved with Brock Pierce's original delegation. There's basically a chat group for about 12 or 15 different countries that have basically contacted him asking for help. They all want to know how to do this, but they all have different motivations. El Salvador is blessed with I think, a very good man who's doing this.
Okay.
A lot of power. It's hard to see what they will do with it once they have absolute power, right?
By the way,
one more thing I really want to say about this, because I asked the people that are running this directly, like, are you guys going to use blockchain to put all the government books on all the government books? And he said, there hasn't been any discussion about that, but it's something that any official discussion, but it's something that's percolating in the background. So,
and to clarify, I also was against Facebook's Libra for the very same reason, because it'd be great adoption. Everyone would be using cryptocurrency. Guess what that is? That is the biggest hole in the world, because once all of everyone's grandmas in the world have lost all of their life savings because they were, oh my gosh, they start speculating on Facebook. That's the world we would have been in. We would have had years to recover from that. And it's the same thing. And I'm just saying, I don't think that they recover. This looks to me, and God bless everybody who did it, because adoption is always a good thing, just like any bad marketing is still good. That you end up with a big risk and and more likely, risk of either failure for not really doing anything effective, which I kind of doubt, but more that when power changes hands, that they haven't done anything fundamental. This is, in my opinion, equivalent of crypto Twitter hype marketing. It's like, we get Bitcoin in the news, and that's not a bad thing. That is not a bad thing, but it isn't fundamentally altering what could be,
Or we could say.
But that's why we all want this to fail, and we should all be. This is a decentralized thing. But this is a decentralized thing, what we're doing here, and I think everybody that loves decentralization, that loves crypto, should be doing what they can to make sure El Salvador doesn't fail.
It's use of decentralization.
It's use of it, and it's enabling. Because part of what he said, though, is from what I understand, is that they are moving to also let and to enable other wallet providers come in to actually have decentralized Bitcoin in the markets.
Right.
But it's also a chicken egg problem, where it's one, they don't even have a banking system, so to speak, for most of the population right now. An online banking system for most of the population. They're using US dollar because that's what they have flowing in their economy.
Sounds to me like the only way it works is if you get decentralized buy-in and you get people in there teaching people that they need to take their coins off of FedCoin once they get sophisticated enough.
Also, I want to thank everyone in the chat, which we haven't done for the whole show, but Nomadic Gear, thanks for being here. It's appreciate you being tired. But there's a lot of people in the chat. Been reading through. Really appreciate the comments. Appreciate you guys being here. Okay. Also, you guys, that I love every one of you very much, but you don't give enough credit, or you don't see as much gravitas as it has. Dollar go up is important to adoption. And also when it comes to El Salvador and other places, Joe, like you were saying, $30 worth of Bitcoin in 2020 is not going to, the moves and gains are going to be as huge, but they don't really have to be as huge because you're talking about people that make $100 a month. So, a $10 gain or a $12 gain is a much bigger deal than it would be to someone in the United States or Canada or something like that.
So one thing I wanted to mention is that in El Salvador, they have one of the very best sort of COVID rates of non-adoption. And the way they did that is they trained an army of 70,000 people to go door to door. And so they're going to use that same group to train them to go door to door to teach people all over El Salvador how to use cryptocurrencies. But you have to think of this in terms of baby steps, Joe. Like, you're on the opposite end of the spectrum as a massive tech nerd, like, extraordinaire, right? And you're the one end of the stream. These guys are on the opposite end of the extreme, where they've never used any type of internet banking. So we start with baby steps, and then the next step is that group will be trained to help to show people about what a strong password is, what a private key is, how to protect it, giving them ideas of how. And so we have to go by baby steps to make sure that it doesn't turn into a massive disaster. And I think everybody that's in the crypto space that loves it should be doing what they can to help El Salvador, because if it fails, we're all going to suffer. On the other hand, if we beat the dollar, then this is going to open up the whole world to us.
That's my point. I don't think enough thought was put into it to prevent it from the potential will fail. That's the biggest issue, because
I think we need to stop worrying about how we could break crypto by saying the wrong thing.
No, it's not. It isn't that. It is that they have a massive. It's a different. It's opportunity cost, right?
Yeah, and I'm not trying to kick your ideas, Joe. Like I love having different perspectives.
I've got to
I think this might be the first time you and I've ever actually
going to go though.
If it was to fail, it's going to be because very unique reasons specific to how they implemented it and specific to their country. And I don't think it should affect the market as a whole. I don't really think people are watching it to do that. I think some people might be paying abnormal attention to this. It's not a headline outside of our world.
Well, here's the thing, though. The driver isn't on even whether the puppet masters or whether we care if it's going to happen. The problem is that they're going to have a lot of money that will be betting that it will happen. That is, if it's centrally controlled, some bureaucrat that gets the keys is going to screw everyone. Okay, and that's the real issue. And I'm sure they have some measures against that. I'm
also
sure
that's really horrifying.
Supposedly,
for me to
it's Binance. Actually,
that government people will go door to door and be teaching people about private keys and so on. That does scare the crap out of the libertarian in me. Yeah, like, here, just let me show you how to use your private keys. Let me see yours. Okay. Now, how it works is, what I mean?
Make sure you're using the iPhone in this version.
Just a little bit of corruption there, and you could.
I guess I guess you guys know. I mean, everything is rose and all everything that I hear from all the crypto world is all of the good things, and that's awesome, and it is absolutely a good thing. But it's just they could have. I don't know. I just the opportunity cost is a big deal to me, but the risks are as well, and it's a good thing to start with and see how it goes, because maybe those people will realize that government guy is full of crap. I'm going to look it up myself, right? But at least they're in there. I don't know.
Well,
I can't believe
from a person who's been there
for
talking
the
to
Sorry, everybody else who asked questions. We should sorry
about that. I should have pushed
for asking arbitrarily.
Yeah, we haven't.
That's one real quick though, Jeff. Yes or no? You may or may not know the answer to this, but it just occurred to me that I should catch you on your way out. The wallet that they're developing over there, is it similar to the way that Cash App works, where it's internal, but you have the option to move the Bitcoin off into non-custodial?
Yeah.
Is it like a?
They aren't doing. They haven't announced the APIs yet. On my next trip, they told me they would give me information on the APIs so everybody to connect to.
It's
okay.
What they have given the APIs to certain partners that have built. So basically, all of the chain stores and the big stores that are running with POS, but not proof of stake, but point of sale systems, are tapping directly into their APIs. So people can pay with Bitcoin in the stores if they have real
Sure.
Bitcoin.
Yeah.
That's not the question.
Or they can pay with Chivo Bitcoin.
That's not the question. The question is, are they allowing them to take the Bitcoin out into their own hardware wallet?
Yes, yes. And supposedly there was a whole chart of that leaked, which I can show that to you. We don't know 100% that it's real, but we believe it is. And they're tying directly into Binance and Bitso and a few other exchanges, and so allowing people to take their crypto out that way. So, and there will be other ways to do it soon. And I'm personally working on something like that directly with them.
Yeah, I guess I was just curious if it was like theoretically if a citizen could use that as a free on ramp and then move it off and then do whatever they want with it, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. And we ran over.
Yeah, we're over. Yeah, it's noon. Just
Captain Kirk in the chat and Digital Foods, they both said something very different, but they're both the same. It's the same thing. Captain Kirk said people are too busy arguing instead of collaborating on how to beat the system. And then Digital Food said that crypto doesn't really need to beat the system. It just needs to do good work. And that's something that really is Joe's philosophy is, so just make something that works and it is attractive to business and attractive. It's good work, which you don't have to fight to win. You just have to build a better mousetrap and you'll win.
Dude, so everybody over in that chat, by the way, if you're not on Den, you need to come into this Den and come join us in our lair and ask these questions, because we'll talk about some of these really.
And we'll get through more of them next week. We'll put some timer on.
Awesome.
I'll pay you for them on Den. I don't know how much you're getting paid.
Yeah, we can get through on Den. Yeah, right. Okay, so let's close out if that's cool. And sorry, we didn't get to ask any more or get to any more questions or topics.
What's the next question? Let's do a lightning round. 10 seconds each, man. Come on.
Oh hell yeah!
Do we have it? Okay, I'm okay with it.
Let's get the next question so that guy gets paid.
Okay.
We can do them all.
Hey, everybody, I have to go.
Makes me so angry. Hey, Jeff. Yes, you had a hard stop.
Jeff?
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Jeff, can you connect with me? I want to help you. I want to help with your project.
Yeah. Cool. The last thing I did want to say is that we are planning with Bitcoin Ben and other friends to do like a crypto week, Bitcoin week, vacation week. We want to invite the entire crypto space to El Salvador to go party and spend Bitcoin and other cryptos, and surf and have fun and just spend money in their economy and get them excited about it. And for the influencers to broadcast from there. We don't know when it's going to be. We're going to wait to see what happens with their launch on September 7th, if they make it on time. They're basically trying to, in 90 days, educate 6 million people on how to do this and build a couple of apps and build an entire ecosystem in 90 days. And I can tell you it's hard to build a feature in an app in 90 days. So doing what they're doing is basically the impossible. But these guys are so smart and dedicated. I think they have a good chance to pull it off. But just keep it in mind, we're going to have a Bitcoin vacation week at some point this year. So anybody that wants to participate,
Okay.
Start thinking about flying down.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. Thanks for being on.
Good seeing you.
We'll see you again soon. Let's go ahead and do the everybody else plugging and saying bye, and then let's come back with lightning round. That way, if we want to, we can edit it out or something. Right? So who has something? Who has something? Let's pretend like it's the end, and then we'll surprise everyone. Right. So anybody have anything coming up?
Subscribe to Social Sean. I have the weekend wrap up on Rice TVX tomorrow, which links on my channel. Do another show similar to this on Tuesday with Litecoin Lisa. Links on my channel down towards the bottom of the page.
Cool.
That's it.
Cool.
I'm going to say somebody next week should post a video that we should respond to as a question. I want to see that happen.
One word responses or
however we want to react.
Okay, all right.
As long as it's not 2 hours or whatever. If it's
Anybody
good
posting
2 hours, but
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Very good. Love it. All right.
And
go ahead.
Yeah, the Divi app is pretty close to coming. The Divi app. I was just thinking about Jeff. The DIN app is pretty close to being out on the app stores and stuff. And if you want to get in before that gets pushed out in the app stores, but before more people start playing with it, it works great on the desktop and even on a mobile browser. Go kick the tires on it, DIN Social.
Right on.
Awesome.
I'm in the middle of setting up all my social medias for people to yell at me. And next week I shall have a username for everybody. I know, Joe, you've been waiting on me to get that to you for a little while, but
it's weird going through Greg to talk to you. He's like, "Hey, you're saying this?"
There are a lot of variations of Sam plus whatever, and there's very little that are actually any good. So
I like the one you shared with me earlier.
Oh, I know. Those are pretty spicy, but I'll let you guys know next week what it is.
54M. See if that's anywhere.
If you don't come up with
some other things,
if you don't come up with it, we're going to let the top question next week decide what it is.
Spicy Sam. That's pretty good, man.
Right on,
yeah, unfortunately, most of those really, really good ones are taken.
I'm pretty sure
it's a matter of
not taken, so you can use that one, Sam.
Oh yeah. That's a good one. That's a good one. Let me get it right on that.
Here, just a minute. Let me mute. All right. So, Ross, you have anything going on?
Same old stuff. GlobalCryptoPress.com updated daily with all the latest news.
Right on. Everybody go there. Oh, and library had to leave. I didn't see why, but Jeremy, that do go and use library for one, because it's very nice, very clean, and it's for the right reasons. It's up against a lot of giants. So and go sign their petition if it's still out there. If it hasn't passed, do all the things, share all that stuff because it's important. I was hoping he could get in on he couldn't fit a word in edgewise to talk about the legislation. I'm like,
what is your petition about?
What's that?
What's your petition about?
Oh, it's about the SEC trying to shut them down, trying to get them totally closed out.
Damn.
Yeah. I think they went pretty hard and heavy against him, and it's like, that's odd. But then it isn't when you think about who they're up against. So, yeah. It's like you get YouTube and Google.
It's not video, it's finance.
And it's stuff like this, which is why it is to say that the U.S. is going to be really left behind whenever it comes to the economic collapse of the world that we are all watching happen before our eyes.
They really targeted YouTube, though. Didn't they do the thing where you could import your entire channel in a click?
Yeah,
import everything.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, you're asking for it, man.
the Odyssey app still lets you do
that
it.
Sucks, though.
Sweet.
I will sign.
Yeah.
Sam,
so, yeah.
I have your Twitter handle.
Okay. So
crypto Matt Damon.
Oh yes.
Dude.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
Somebody better grab it fast. A white hat, right? Anyway, let's go to lightning round, right? Okay. So Jacob Wayne. Question: do you think it's important to replace each centralized website with a decentralized, secure version? For example, Odyssey could be a replacement for YouTube very much, or do you think it's more important to construct a completely unique and original way with blockchain tech in the social media space industry?
Yes, and all of the above. People should try it and see if it fails, and let the people decide by what they use.
Variety and competition. It's the most important thing if you want something good, right?
Yeah, I agree with Greg. Yep.
So, all right, next up, let's see.
More than
here.
one? What? We're doubling?
Gang. What? You said
I
lightning
think
round.
the future's on the last one. My lightning round thing is I think the future's hybrid. So yes and no.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right. I'm gonna let if anybody doesn't chime in, we'll just keep going. In terms of wrestling with legal implications of the blockchains, are lawyers the most important piece of the puzzle, or does the blockchain or something else play a bigger role? I have a lot of opinion here, so I'll let you guys answer first.
The lack of lawyers is the key. The less they get involved, and the more open it is, the more Wild West it is, the better chance we have of being ahead of the curve whenever it is. It sucks how many people are going to get screwed by it whenever it's all said and done. That's sad. But unfortunately, we're in a race for our own financial survival and technological supremacy, in my opinion.
I think we need all the
words out of
people.
my mouth. Yeah, that's it.
Similar sentiment. I think that the implications of blockchain is that it breaks everything, including laws.
Yep.
And so it's going to have to be rewritten. Right now, lawyers are in the way.
Lightning round.
I mean, in some ways, it's going to be driven by companies looking for a profit. Those companies will need to consult with lawyers. So, I mean, we need lawyers overseeing stuff with the for-profit companies that will drive.
I'll tell you the right answer. I have the right answer. This is important.
What?
Good lawyers need to defend it.
Greg.
This is important.
Yeah.
The correct answer to that is in a pure ideal world, law will be entirely dictated by code. Smart contracts, it'll be code. It'll be transparent. People will know. That's a
good code makes lawyers irrelevant.
Exactly. And the very first lawyer I ever talked to about doing this before blockchain existed, was his first question. But you still need lawyers, right? You still need, and he was a former former congressman and a lawyer, right? That was the first thing he was worried about, because I was just talking about judging software contracts and with unit tests. So
you guys remember?
But the second side of it is, to quote Shakespeare, first we kill all the lawyers.
Right, when he was saying, how do you take over a society and enslave its people, was the context.
Yeah. Okay.
But gotta point out the code is law thing.
We can't. I think it's impossible to do like
Lawrence Lessig, constitutional scholar.
Yes.
Read code, because he suggests that maybe it's not law. Maybe the code is the regulator and the law is the substrate.
Oh, what?
Just a weird twist on the same idea.
I think what we're all saying here right now, I think the takeaway from all this right now is, lawyers, you better learn to code, because we're coming at you.
Bring it.
Hopefully. Okay. Are we going to keep doing this? Because that wasn't very light.
Guys, it's been like 3 minutes and we've covered
that was
so
fun.
much.
Is it okay? I mean, do you want to keep going, or you want to?
We can go to 10.
Yeah, let's go to 110. Okay. We could probably do 2 more questions.
Okay. So first, Vesna Vulovic, can the blockchain and dApps defend us from tracking our online activities? Or are we still vulnerable to analysis data despite being anonymous? For Cambridge Analytica, so on and so on. Thoughts on that? Lightning round.
Double-edged sword, man. Yes, it can help with anonymity, but if they identify who you are, it's permanent record of you online forever.
Right.
Sam, next.
Pass.
All right. I think yes, it can, and projects like Monero and forks of Monero, like Oxen, are doing it. Next.
Yes, it can, but like everything else with crypto, you're much more responsible for your own security. Yep. If you use things the way that they're supposed to be used, or they can be used, then definitely. But if you're lazy, or that it's like Ross made the point, then everything.
Lightning round.
Great. What's up?
I say this is a big freaking question that's unsuited for lightning round. Read Taylor Monahan's post from her DevCon speech the last time we were there live. I think it was 2019. But go read her thing about it. That is the right answer. We will build the same system we have right now if we don't do it different, and that's up to all of us.
That's the thing. Blockchain, crypto. Well, let's just say smart contracts are a hedge generally against laziness. Laziness is the biggest problem with privacy, or the fact that most people have just proxied the control of their identity to others.
Right. So, but we could also all build through a coin mixer as a default.
And my thoughts, figured them out, is that it contributes to both. It's going to make both worse and both better.
We need some rules here.
Ooh, good question to end on.
Question. Angel Breaker. How can you prove your blockchain application implementation is compliant to laws, for instance, GDPR?
Lawyers.
It's still smart contracts. It's still proving stuff on chain that this happened, that you followed rules.
The compliance rules are a proxy for a better system. That is blockchain.
This is true.
Yeah, I agree with what
GDPR should be unnecessary.
What Greg said, but kind of more expanding on it. The market will decide if GDPR is passé and needs to be changed for blockchain versus blockchain needing to work to change for GDPR. Whichever people
GDPR
interpret or see as giving them the better deal is the one that's gonna happen.
Yes,
right. And disclosures are not protections. Everybody needs to remember that.
Yeah. Okay. Next up.
You can do the best you can, but they'll sue someone anyways.
Next one. Are we done? We're at 110. You guys gonna stop?
Yeah, we hit 110.
One more.
Fantasy football. No, let's hit this.
Fantasy football.
It's gonna be good for an hour.
What made you guys interested in extending to a blockchain-based social media platform? Let's see, this is a Den question. Any platforms that laid down somewhat of a blueprint or inspiration for creating Den Social?
I can just quickly say, from my opinion, yeah, every platform has laid down a blueprint of what not to do and how to do it right. How to things to improve have given us.
Well, inspiration you can see on Telegram. Someone asked me on Telegram, if just talking about Den, right? So someone asked me on Telegram specifically, and we were having all the normal troubles with identity, right? People impersonating and everything else. So there was an identity component, but it ended up being because of the trolls. And I was like, wouldn't it be nice if we could tune our system so you had to have a certain amount of time to ask questions, or a certain, inside a Dragonchain, right? And so it ended up with where what we really need is a crypto aware social media platform that, that is modeled for the right. And, we could go into that. That's not a lightning round thing, but anyway, and it's a demonstration of blockchain tech itself. You can use it anywhere. And it was one of you have to, with humans, you have to show them. You can't just say, oh, this is possible. People think, no, it's impossible. Why? Because no one's ever done that, right? Until someone does it, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait a minute, you could do this? And then it's great, because then it's like they came up with it themselves, and it's beautiful because it's an idea is viral, right? So crypto is amazing for that.
For me, I
actually see it.
I'm unaffiliated. I introduced myself to these guys because I was a super fan of their platform. Like literally, I just showed up out of the blue and was like, "Hey, you guys built something cool. Want to talk?" So that's why I'm here.
I was brought in because I have stupid shit that I say. To be quite honest, like this, I want a social media platform without usernames. I hate them. They're horrible.
It's because it looks like Matt Damon.
That's coming to Den. Den, you're going to be able to have an anonymous, there'll be an economy behind it, but yeah. Full on.
I was just brought in because I'm pretty.
Yes.
Yeah. The ever humble Satoshi Shon.
Speaking of cool
himself.
usernames, the next question, that's cool.
Y'all Weird. Y'all Weird is amazing. He's the one who did the Den commercial for us, the music for the Den commercial, right?
Awesome.
Yeah. Beautiful stuff. So
for sale on OpenSea right now. He put it up with some original artwork on OpenSea as a 1 of 1. So you can go buy that song that he wrote for that commercial. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
It's totally. I tweeted it yesterday. I'll retweet it today. So check it out.
1 of 1. That means it'll be really expensive. That's cool.
All right.
You can buy that, but not one. Well, I'll go check it out, man.
Okay. That was a partially successful lightning round. The cup is half full.
Oh yeah, we only did an hour's worth of questions.
I know. Sorry about that. We
5 hours worth of questions in 10 minutes.
Yeah, I could go. I could go longer. So I just don't know if anybody's gonna care to watch more than an hour.
We'll have to start doing a director's cut or something.
We'll figure it out. People can make their own director's cut. Just cut it off when you get tired of what we're talking about.
Well, no, isn't the director's cut longer though, or like overtime? Talking about fantasy football.
Well, you just put timestamps in the description, like what the questions are.
I'll tell you what, the format. So there are a couple of things that we're going to start talking to you guys about. So we just do this in public here. That at some point, this will be run with decentralized governance. How we run the show, even if we want to change the rewards, because that was one of the things weighing in on me is like, okay, one person was going to get the whole slice of the pie from the lot rewards for the topics and questions. And now it's the opposite. Now we had too many. So, what do we want to model that? Do we want to fix that? Does it just work? The other is things like, maybe we should cut off at the hour cleanly and then just continue on with lightning round, kind of like what we did today, right? But and then just have very clean rules on everybody has to, answer in one sentence or pass, and that's it. No.
Nomadic Gear said he votes
We
for
do
an
have two
hour
for keep
episode.
going. Yeah.
But,
And-
yeah.
For
like to throw up a
me,
timer or
this
control.
kind of thing, if
Like-
you just put in a best effort, put in some basic rules, best effort, what happens, happens. I don't think many people are really going to complain that loudly.
Right.
But Cole said keep going, and Nomadic Gear said he votes for an 8-hour episode. So
Let's make it a free flowing nomic system where you vote on the rules if you win last week, and you can just change one arbitrarily. Like you have to answer everything in rhyme this week because Greg's a dick.
That's a
make
very
it
interesting
like playing quarters, man. Give everybody rules.
like Riskopoly.
If you go over
I
any
will
number
say,
of it, you lose
Rarely does
one
anyone need to
spot
talk
per
for more
minute.
than like a minute,
And it goes to the community.
Yeah. Well, and we could maybe. I mean, you think about that. That would be some variety.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know, Ross. I come here for the soapbox. I love when people start ranting and raving. It's a good time.
Yeah.
But then again, I got to say that because I got to justify myself.
Grades episode.
I mean, if it's good.
I will tell you, I feel bad every
We're
time.
not worried about getting the channel in trouble. We just let loose.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. That doesn't really matter, right?
Speaking of channel in trouble, we should maybe look at Rumble too, because they're apparently blowing up with Greenwald. And,
we can
his
look
home
if they have a standard streaming. We could. I don't know if they do live. Do they do live?
I think they just opened up live, but they've got some really good newsmakers that are just actually delivering real content, and some folks who did not deserve to get algorithmed off of YouTube that are just over there.
Yep. And more than anything, I mean, the intent of this was to get those issues that are most important and valuable to know about into these topics, and get some real opinion behind them. Besides the what you see on the normal news channels or what's paid on one of the crypto outlets. So not you, Ross. Those other ones. I mean, I don't know, it's like I don't see anything that isn't paid, and obviously so. But I don't look enough, so I don't want to say anything too bad. But
No, I agree with you.
Ross, you could be the crypto Glenn Greenwald. Actually, you kind of have a
yes. So anyway, and I feel bad every time I disagree with somebody on the show too. So
That's the
I
best
always
part.
feel like I have to.
That's
Dude,
a positive.
Everyone agrees
That's
it would
the
be
best
so
part.
boring.
It's just
Dude.
rough.
The fact that we can have a conversation about that and not be murdering each other and yelling,
Well, we're remote.
red team,
We are
blue team
remote.
epithets at one another.
Yet.
It's also cool because it's so rare that we disagree.
Yeah,
So that is very interesting.
it's little bitty tinges.
I mean, maybe I just shut up. I do disagree on some things, Like, I'm not particularly a fan of Brock, and we just spent a whole lot of time talking about him. So, it just depends.
Well, he's a polarizing force. So
He is, yeah, and that's fine.
I know a lot of people that, man. I mean, they tell me, why'd you interview Brock? I'm like, well, he's running for president. He's a crypto guy.
Yeah.
And because we know him through JD, right? And but man.
Well, I don't think people should die for talking about him. Some people are really like, your career should be over because you had a beer with this person that I don't like.
Dude, then how are we
That's
supposed to have interesting people on here?
Yeah, and we had McAfee
Wright will
on,
get you that.
right? And
Not you guys.
That's another one. Satoshi Sean. When we had our interviews, much similar. When I was done with that, we all signed off. And he was on the lam somewhere, and I'm like, holy! He only wanted to record on Skype, so I'm like, and it didn't show up. So I thought it was totally like, oh, Skype, it's Skype, so it's gonna fail. And I totally thought we lost the interview, but it took like 3 or 4 minutes, and it finally showed up. So I'm like, okay, it was very weird.
No, dude, I disagree with lots of people, but I only bring it up and discuss it with people that I respect a whole boatload. So
There you go. Yeah, it's not worth it at the Thanksgiving dinner, maybe. Sometimes it's more fun though.
arguing with me is frustrating.
Okay.
No,
So is that good?
arguing with stupid people is frustrating.
What's that?
Arguing with stupid people is frustrating. Arguing with intelligent people is not frustrating at all.
Yes.
Because
Like
like
the
me,
midwits,
a lot
though,
of
the
times.
ones in the middle are the worst because they get the first concept, but they can't follow you to number 2.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you've ever gotten me going in an argument and I'm really going, I can make the most intelligent people want to jump off a bridge sometimes.
Yeah, because it's really frustrating. Because you're like, shit.
Because you're too damn smart.
Believe you.
You're good.
You know.
And I love trying to say things in the dumbest way possible. Just it gets me a very good giggle.
Really? Nobody can tell.
I love it.
Dude, whenever you make a good point, you need to say, you like apples?
Yeah. Man. Horrible.
The Matt Damon Twitter handle is a good idea, though. By the way, Sam.
Yeah,
it
It has to be gone by now, right?
That should be your handle. Yeah.
It probably is. I'll check.
Somebody's out there cyber squatting right now.
You got Matthew before somebody grabs it.
I once had an idea for a this is way back. This was a stupid idea that obviously never happened, but a site called Squatter, but it was a Web 2.0 thing, so you would get rid of the E. This was a joke, by the way, that literally you would see, is anyone squatting on this account, and then it would squat on it for you. But then the side, as if this was a skit or something, the side would be that really behind the scenes, they were the ones squatting on stuff. Obviously, anyway, it's stupid.
Yeah, we definitely can't continue
awesome.
the lightning round. We have no time.
Running on domain squatting.
Fun with top level domain search, right? Like you can use the new.
That's a real service now, right? People reserve, like anytime a new social network comes out for you, they will reserve your URL on all of them for some flat fee. Yeah. I saw it on Product Hunt like a couple months ago.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
And some
just ahead of time,
Joe, doing it themselves too. Like I saw a couple of them, like the decentralized DNS, and I forget the name of the project. And I want to say Unstoppable also just went to, is it called Alexa or Alexis, or the top 100 websites? And was like, cool, we're going to lock all of these so that if this is yours, you can also have that same domain on our thing. Yeah. So yeah, it happens a lot.
Yeah, we have to figure that out for Den. So if we're getting back to the Den subject, we have to figure that out for Den as well. If someone wants to come in with a business layer that might be a branded trademark thing, we have to figure out what are the rules. We've not had it happen.
Yeah, or if somebody comes in really hot it seems like they're fired up to run a layer and ends up just kind of domain squatting on an umbrella term name of a layer, how do you catch that?
That's already modeled. That's I think it's even in the white paper that the long run now it's really off, but if the amount that you pay monthly for a business layer
depends on activity, right?
Depends on activity. If there's enough activity generated, it's free. But if you're not, then it's going to be expensive to squat.
Well, like Digital Food says, you can just put the word "not" in front of it, not Matt Damon.
Supermajority governance vote ought to be able to pass usernames. That would be awesome, because there's so many great Twitter handles that are just dead.
Yeah. It took us forever to get Dragonchain, so we don't even use it now because I messaged forever, and they finally came back. Somebody finally came back years later after we were already running Dragonchain Gang, because that's the same username we had in the Disney Slack, so we used it on the outside, and when Dragonchain finally came available and we did buy it. We never switched it, right? So
what was the original owner's intention with that name?
I do not know.
Nothing to do with blockchain. So Dragonchain?
I believe, if I remember right, now I'd have to look, but it might have been created after we open sourced. It might have been, they might have, but I don't think so, because in fact, it wasn't. We were, what it was? It was when unintentional press came out because we were hiring people inside something. I mean, I know they had some prior angle to it, but maybe not. Like, it wasn't there when I went before we open sourced.
It makes my heart hurt every time I look at the @Rivet Twitter account, which I don't actually do, because we're underscores between. Right? If you go to @Rivet, this guy joined in 2012, did 0 tweets, has a freaking avatar that says marketing, and he's just squatting on the Rivet handle. Like, come on,
that was the issue, and that's why Namecoin had huge issues. There are a couple of other similar models that are much better on the way they bid stuff out, but in my opinion, it was it would make sense to have anti-squatting economy in anything that's going to be a name system, because otherwise that's what's going to happen. And you want to make it okay. Do you really believe that this domain is going to be worth very much? Then you're going to have to keep paying.
Dude, are you looking at the chat, Sam?
No.
The talented, what is it? The talented, Mr. Ripley.
Digital Foods to come on that.
Goodwill staking.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
The crypto Mr. Ripley. Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty good. Yeah, simple ones. Anyway, all right. Are we done then? Are we all good? Are we all good?
You guys are great.
So we did all of the rollout. Let me tell you. Let's see here. Thanks everybody. Join the WBRT Lair and Den. Ask questions for next week's episode and vote on the questions you like as well. Share this episode. The more you share, the more lot the hosts and all of the topic contributors will get. All right. Make sure you share the video, like, comment, and subscribe. So on. I think that's it. I think we're good. So bye everyone. Sorry it went too long.
Later.
I'm not sorry.
Hold on.
Yes.
Saving private blockchain. There you go.
I vote that.
Solid.
I don't know about the PBT, but yeah, I'll do like it.
I'm good to end the stream now.
Okay. All right. Thanks, guys.
Y'all take care.
Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best.
Adaptable, all capital, label radical yet rational. A tactical approach is palpable if this animal is fallible, but that conclusion is laughable. So with for all detachable from the mandible, you see it now.